Learn English through stories with shadowing and conversation. The train from Tokyo slowly arrived in Kyoto. Pink cherry blossoms were flying in the air like snow. Rosie put her forehead on the cool window and looked outside. This was her first spring in Japan. In London, life had become very difficult. There was too much noise, crowded trains, too much work, and she felt that life was passing her too fast. One night when she couldn't sleep, she bought a ticket to Japan. She didn't buy a return ticket. She just wanted to escape. Now she was in Kyoto. The city looked beautiful under the cherry blossoms. Old wooden houses stood along narrow streets. Paper lanterns were shining in the evening light. The air smelled of rain and green tea. Rosie stayed in a small traditional ryokan next to the river. Sakura trees covered both sides of the river with pink flowers. The old woman who owned the ryokan asked her kindly,
"Did you come for the cherry blossoms?" "Yes, something like that."
That night, she couldn't sleep. She could hear the petals touching the paper windows. The next morning, Rosie walked alone by the river. Many people were sitting under the trees, drinking tea and talking, but she still felt lonely. Then she saw a small wooden bench under a big Sakura tree. She sat on it. She touched the wood and found a carving. Aiko, 1956. She was surprised. That evening, she asked the old woman about the name. The woman brought an old wooden box. Inside were many old drawings and a small diary. The drawings showed the river, the same bench, and a young Japanese woman.
Aiko lived here a long time ago. She wanted to be an artist.
In the diary, Rosie found this sentence in English. Cherry blossoms are beautiful because they don't last long. She read Aiko's story. In 1956, Aiko wanted to travel and paint, but her family wanted her to stay home and get married. Every spring, she came to this bench and drew pictures. She felt that someone in the future was listening to her. Rosie visited all the places Aiko had drawn. The small tea house, the old stone bridge, and the narrow street with lanterns. Sometimes she felt very close to Aiko. On the last night, during the Lantern Festival, Rosie read the final page of the diary. Aiko had written, "If someone finds my drawings, I hope she chooses the life she really wants." Rosie's eyes filled with tears. The next morning, under the falling petals, she took out her camera and started taking photos. She photographed the river, the streets, the lanterns, and Aiko's places. Without noticing it, her life started to change. A girl from 1956 had shown her how to live better. Now let's do some shadowing together. Listen carefully and repeat each sentence naturally with me. Pink cherry blossoms were flying in the air like snow. Pink cherry blossoms were flying in the air like snow. Paper lanterns were shining in the evening light. Paper lanterns were shining in the evening light. She could hear the petals touching the paper windows. She could hear the petals touching the paper windows. The next morning, Rosie walked alone by the river. The next morning, Rosie walked alone by the river. She touched the wood and found a carving. She touched the wood and found a carving. Every spring she came to this bench and drew pictures. Every spring she came to this bench and drew pictures. She felt that someone in the future was listening to her. She felt that someone in the future was listening to her. We hope you enjoyed the shadowing section and had fun practicing your pronunciation with the story. Now let's relax a little and talk more deeply about the atmosphere, themes, and emotions behind Rosie and Aiko's journey.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to English Natively.
Hope you're doing well today. We've got a really beautiful story to talk about.
Yeah, this one honestly feels like a quiet spring evening. It's soft, emotional, and really atmospheric.
Definitely. And before we begin, a big thank you to Margaret for the wonderful narration.
Yes, thank you so much, Margaret. Your voice matched the story perfectly. It felt calm, warm, and cinematic.
So today's story follows Rosie, a young woman from London who suddenly decides to travel to Japan during cherry blossom season.
And I loved the opening straight away. The train arriving in Kyoto, the cherry blossoms flying through the air. It felt so peaceful.
Especially compared to London in the story.
Exactly. In London, everything felt loud and stressful. Too much work, crowded trains, noise everywhere.
I think a lot of people can relate to that feeling, actually.
Yeah, sometimes life moves so quickly that you don't even notice time passing.
And I think that's why Rosie's decision feels emotional. She doesn't even buy a return ticket.
That part really stood out to me.
Same here. It wasn't just a holiday. She genuinely needed to escape for a while.
And then suddenly she arrives in Kyoto and the atmosphere completely changes.
Old wooden houses, lanterns, rain, green tea. Everything feels slower and calmer.
Honestly, the story made me want to visit Japan in spring.
Same, especially Kyoto.
All right, let's talk about what happens after Rosie arrives at the ryokan.
So, after arriving in Kyoto, Rosie stays in a small traditional ryokan beside the river.
And honestly, those scenes felt so cozy to me.
Same here. The paper windows, the river outside, the cherry blossoms everywhere.
Yeah, the atmosphere felt incredibly peaceful. But at the same time, Rosie still seemed a bit lonely.
That's what I liked about the story, actually. Even in a beautiful place, you can still feel lost inside.
Exactly. Sometimes changing your location doesn't immediately change how you feel emotionally.
And then, the next morning, she walks by the river while everyone else is sitting under the Sakura trees, drinking tea and chatting.
I could imagine that scene so clearly. It felt very soft and cinematic.
Definitely. But Rosie still feels disconnected from everyone around her.
Until she notices the small wooden bench under the Sakura tree.
That moment changes the whole story.
Yeah. She sits down, touches the wood, and suddenly finds the carving.
Aiko, 1956.
Honestly, if I found that in real life, I'd immediately become curious.
Same. It feels mysterious, but not in a scary way. More emotional and nostalgic.
Exactly. Like the beginning of an old, forgotten story.
And later that evening, the old woman brings Rosie the wooden box filled with drawings and the diary.
I loved that detail. It felt almost magical, but still realistic.
And the drawings are all of the same places Rosie has already seen.
The river, the bench, the lantern streets.
It's almost like Aiko is quietly guiding Rosie through Kyoto.
Yeah, and through life as well, actually.
That's such a lovely way to describe it.
So this is where the story becomes really emotional.
Yeah. Rosie starts reading Aiko's diary and slowly learns about her life in 1956.
And honestly, I felt quite sad for Aiko.
Same. She wanted to travel, paint, and live freely, but her family expected her to stay home and get married.
I think that was very common in the past, especially for women.
Definitely. People often had dreams, but not always the freedom or opportunity to follow them.
And that's why the diary feels so personal. You can feel how much Aiko wanted a different life.
I also loved the image of her sitting on the same bench every spring, drawing pictures beneath the cherry blossoms.
Yeah, that detail was beautiful.
And then Rosie finds that sentence in the diary.
Cherry blossoms are beautiful because they don't last long.
Honestly, that line feels like the heart of the whole story.
Definitely. It's not just about flowers. It's really about life.
Exactly. Beautiful moments don't stay forever, and that's what makes them special.
I think a lot of people forget that sometimes.
Yeah. We get busy, stressed, distracted, and we stop appreciating small moments.
But Aiko understood something important. Life is temporary, so we should really live it while we can.
And in a strange way, even though Aiko lived decades earlier, she still changes Rosie's life.
That part felt really powerful to me. Almost like two people from different times quietly helping each other.
Yeah, there's something very human about that.
And I think that's why the story feels emotional without becoming overly dramatic.
Exactly. It's soft, calm, and reflective. By the final part of the story, Rosie starts visiting all the places Aiko once drew.
Yeah, the little tea house, the old bridge, the lantern street. It almost feels like she's following Aiko's memories.
And slowly, without really noticing it, Rosie begins to change.
I loved that detail, actually. The story doesn't suddenly become dramatic or unrealistic.
Exactly. It's quiet change.
Like healing very slowly.
Yeah. And then we arrive at the Lantern Festival scene.
Honestly, that was probably my favourite part visually.
Same here. The glowing lanterns, the sakura petals, the river at night.
It felt incredibly cinematic.
And that's where Rosie reads the final page of Aiko's diary.
If someone finds my drawings, I hope she chooses the life she really wants.
That line honestly stayed with me after the story ended.
Same, because I think a lot of people secretly feel trapped in lives they didn't really choose.
Yeah. Sometimes people become so busy surviving that they forget what actually makes them happy.
And Aiko never got the chance to fully live the life she wanted.
But somehow, through her drawings and diary, she helps Rosie become braver.
Exactly. By the next morning, Rosie isn't just observing Kyoto anymore.
She starts taking photographs herself.
Which is such an important moment.
Yeah, because now she's finally creating something instead of simply escaping from life.
I really loved the final sentence too.
A girl from 1956 had shown her how to live better.
It's such a gentle ending, but emotionally very powerful.
Definitely. Quiet stories like this can sometimes say the most.
You know what I really liked about this story?
What's that?
Even though it takes place in Japan, it still feels very comforting in a British way.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
It's quiet, emotional, reflective, not overly dramatic.
Exactly. British storytelling often focuses on atmosphere and small emotional moments, rather than huge dramatic scenes.
And this story does that beautifully.
Definitely. The rain, the tea, the old streets, the soft conversations, everything feels calm and human.
I think that's why the story feels relaxing to listen to.
Yeah, it almost feels like slowing down for a little while.
Which is actually the message of the whole story, isn't it?
I think so. Appreciating moments before they disappear.
Like cherry blossoms.
Exactly.
And honestly, I think many people today feel like Rosie sometimes.
Yeah, life moves very quickly now.
Too quickly sometimes.
So maybe stories like this remind us to pause a little and enjoy where we are.
All right, so here's our question for everyone watching.
If you could escape somewhere peaceful for 1 month, where would you go?
And do you think modern life moves too fast these days?
We'd genuinely love to hear your thoughts in the comments.
Also, tell us which scene from the story was your favourite.
Mine was probably the Lantern Festival.
Same. The atmosphere sounded magical.
Thank you so much for spending time with us today.
And once again, thank you to Margaret for the beautiful narration.
Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to English Natively for more real British English stories.
Take care, everyone.
See you in the next story.